So this will not be the last time you'll see Patty for sure. There's really a lot more that should be offered and questions that you can be asking. So be on the lookout for that. I would like to introduce now Dina Wayne, who will fill us in a little bit about what's going in our TIF unit.
And I'm just going to talk really briefly about TIF because, being a TIF person, TIF and as much attention as TIF is getting in the news, I could take up, the entire workshop, but I won't. So, and I'm also going to gear my presentation a teeny bit to some responses that I guess were received by our office, by the HED staff as a result of annual reports or surveys or something that some of you filled out, so that I can be a little bit more specific to things that seem to be of interest to the delegate agencies. While my TIF presentation is getting set up, I'll just say I think probably all of you have heard of TIF districts. These are areas, we have over 160 of them that are designated by the City Council. And within that area, certain kinds of redevelopment costs can be reimbursed by the city to developers. I want to stress the reimbursed part. Unfortunately, sometimes when I've gone out and I've talked to small business owners, what they're looking for is startup money. And that's not something, unfortunately, that this program can provide. We're very much structured by what the TIF statute, the state statute, allows us to do. So if you are working with developers who are within a TIF district, we have certain activities that can be, as I said, reimbursed by TIFs. I think maybe we could go to the next. Let's go one more. All right. This is just, these aren't exactly the legislative categories, but it gives you an idea. We can use, we can pay developers for such things as acquisition of land, for rehabilitation of existing buildings, for new construction of low-income housing. I think you guys don't deal in housing so much, that probably is of less interest to you. The city can use the money for public infrastructure improvements. We can use it for job training, both separately, which we have some people here to speak to you about, but we can also use it for job training if it's part of a larger redevelopment project. So for example, Quaker came to us some years ago. We basically paid for their tenant build-out of space in a new building, and then we also gave them job training money. So if it's part of a larger project, you go through a large redevelopment agreement that we administer. If it's a project, if a business owner comes to you and says, we just need job training, we have a separate redevelopment agreement for that and a separate unit that works on that, and you'll hear from them in just a little bit. I would say that really site acquisition and rehabilitation are the biggest costs. We can't use TIF for new construction costs of commercial businesses per se. So if you have somebody who comes and says, I want to build a shopping mall, how can we help? How can you help us? How can the city help us? If you're working with those applicants, what we would ask is for you to look through the requirements. And again, we'll have another workshop on this probably the beginning of next year and spell this out in greater detail. But what we'd like you to do is look through the TIF eligible costs and see what things might pertain to them. We can, for example, reimburse for interest costs if they have a bank loan. Those kinds of things can be TIF eligible. Again, the acquisition. So some of the parts of the project we can help with, even though we can't help with the actual hard dollars of construction of commercial space. The slides that you see there, okay, we talked about commercial revitalization, so if people want to build or rehab shopping districts. Industrial redevelopment, we've had S&C Electric, CCH Inc., which is a publishing company on the northwest side, Finkel Steel, Quaker, well, Quaker's not so much industrial, but we have a lot of large companies that come to us. My guess is that you'll see them less, because if a company is very large, they often have their own equity and their own in-house attorney, and they can hire consultants, and they tend to not use the smaller agencies to help them, with some exceptions. But where I think you people can be particularly helpful to us is reviewing applications for small business owners, particularly for the SPIF program, which Annie's going to talk to you about in a second, and also for these streamlined TIF applications. The Streamlined program is a TIF program that's geared towards smaller projects, so up to $1 million in TIF assistance. We pay people over a 5-year period. And what we notice is a lot of sort of what we might call ma and pa store owners come to us, or, well really, they get an application online or from somebody, they fill it out, and there are a lot of pieces missing. So it would be a huge help to the city to the extent that you can work with these small business owners who want to do more than just put up a sign, for example, or change their windows, because that would probably fall under spiff. But let's say that they have to redo, they want to just gut the interior and start over. That's probably something that would fall under the streamlined TIF program, and to the extent that you can go through the application with them and explain what each of the things are that we're asking for and why they're important, and that they just can't leave them out. I was just reviewing one,